You are surrounded by people, hundreds of them, maybe thousands. And yet something in your chest feels hollow, like a quiet room inside a very noisy building. That feeling has a name. It has a history. And the real reason it exists goes back much further than you have ever been told. Most people assume loneliness is about being physically alone. The logic seems obvious. Add more people. Remove the loneliness. But you have already disproved that theory yourself. You have felt it at a party where you knew almost everyone. You have felt it mid-conversation, watching someone talk, and still felt completely out of reach. You have scrolled through a screen full of faces and felt more empty than before you started. Loneliness is not about proximity. It never was. It is a biological alarm, precise, ancient, and radically mismatched to the world you actually live in. And to understand why it follows you into crowded rooms, you have to go back to the world that built it. About 2 million years ago, your ancestors lived in small bands, 20 to 50 individuals, sometimes a little more. Every face was familiar. Every alliance was tracked. Every subtle shift in social standing carried consequences that were not abstract. If you were inside the group, you ate. You slept with others nearby. You were warned when danger came close. If you were pushed to the edges, excluded, ignored, cut off, you were functionally alone on an open landscape where everything with teeth was faster than you. Loneliness was not sadness. It was a survival alarm. Your brain evolved to monitor your social environment the way it monitors temperature or hunger, not as a luxury, not as a personality trait, but as a basic survival mechanism. When the social signal weakened, when you stopped feeling seen, valued, or embedded in the group, your nervous system did not ask whether you had feelings about it. It fired a warning, the same way it fires pain when you touch something that will damage your tissue. Get back in the group. Fix this. Now. John Cacioppo, a neuroscientist at the University of Chicago, who spent over 2 decades studying this, discovered something that changed how the scientific world understood the social brain. Loneliness activates the same neural threat detection systems as physical pain. The same regions of the brain that light up when you are injured light up when you feel socially excluded. Your nervous system does not distinguish between a broken bone and being left out. To it, both are emergencies. Both require an immediate response. That is not a metaphor. That is a measured neurological fact. So think about what it means. You walk into a room full of strangers. Your ancient threat detection system scans the environment. It finds no familiar faces, no established bonds, no reciprocal recognition, no one who would notice if you quietly disappeared. And it concludes by its own perfect ancient logic that you are outside the group. The alarm fires. You feel it as that particular hollow ache, that sense of being invisible while completely surrounded, that strange, untethered feeling you cannot quite name or explain, because you are standing in a room full of living human beings and, intellectually, that you are not in danger. But the part of your brain running this calculation is not interested in intellect. It is running a program written long before language existed. It is pattern matching against a template of safety that was set 2 million years ago. Small group, familiar faces, mutual recognition, established trust. Anything that does not match that template registers as a threat. A city of 8 million people, from the perspective of your social nervous system, is not safety in numbers. It is 2 million years of pattern-matching firing continuously and finding almost nothing familiar. Robin Dunbar, an anthropologist at Oxford University, has spent years studying the cognitive limits of human social relationships. What he found is that your brain can maintain roughly 150 meaningful social relationships at one time, and only about 5 deeply intimate ones. Not because you choose to limit yourself, but because maintaining a social relationship requires constant cognitive work, tracking history, reading emotional states, predicting behavior, updating your model of who this person is. Your brain runs out of processing capacity. The number Dunbar identified is not random. It maps almost perfectly onto the size of hunter-gatherer bands across cultures and across history. You were built for 150 people. You are navigating a world of billions. And the mismatch runs deeper than numbers. Your social nervous system was not designed to distinguish between 300 faces you know and 300 faces you have never seen. To the ancient circuitry, a stranger is a gap in the social map, an unknown quantity in a world where unknown quantities were often dangerous.
In the ancestral village, you eventually learned every face. You were given time. You were given repetition. You were given the slow accumulation of shared experience that turned a stranger into someone known. The modern world offers you almost none of that. It offers you contact without continuity, exposure without depth, and an endless stream of faces that the ancient system can never fully process as safe. Julianne Holt-Lundstad, a researcher at Brigham Young University, has spent years documenting what happens to the body when the alarm keeps running without resolution. Her findings are stark and consistent. Persistent loneliness increases the risk of early death by approximately 26%. It raises cortisol levels chronically. It disrupts sleep architecture in ways that impair memory and immune function. It accelerates cellular aging. It does all of this not because people feel sad, but because their bodies are running an ancient emergency protocol on a loop. A protocol that was designed to last hours, or at most a few days, before the social environment resolved it. In the ancestral world, the alarm rarely had to run long. The group was small. Resolution was near. A shared meal, a familiar face, a hand on the shoulder, and the signal quieted. Now it can run for months. For years. There is something even more unsettling buried in Cacioppo's research. Loneliness does not just hurt. It actively changes how you perceive the world around you. His studies showed that chronically lonely people develop hypervigilance to social threat. They become more sensitive to potential rejection, more likely to interpret a neutral expression as hostility, more likely to read an unanswered message as deliberate dismissal. Their social radar, designed to detect exclusion, becomes calibrated toward finding it everywhere. Loneliness builds walls, and then the brain mistakes those walls for evidence that no one is coming. This is not a personality flaw. It is the alarm system doing exactly what it was designed to do. Scanning for threats, overweighting danger signals, making you cautious in a social environment it is assessed as hostile. In the ancestral world, that caution had real survival value. If your group was turning against you, missing the early signs could be fatal. Overreacting to a neutral face cost you almost nothing. In the modern world, that same caution can quietly corrode every relationship you try to build. The longest-running study of human happiness ever conducted discovered something simple and devastating. The Harvard study of adult development tracked hundreds of individuals across their entire adult lives, from youth through old age, measuring everything researchers thought might predict a good life: wealth, achievement, intelligence, genetics. Robert Waldinger, who leads the study, summarized the central finding plainly. The single most consistent predictor of well-being, health, and longevity across an entire human life is not what you have. It is the quality of your relationships. Not the number, not the proximity, the quality. Your brain has known this for 2 million years. Social media gives you the surface signal of being surrounded. Hundreds of notifications. Faces, names, reactions, messages, all arriving in a continuous stream. It looks, from a distance, like the constant social contact that your nervous system craves. And yet study after study finds that heavy social media use correlates with elevated loneliness scores, not lower ones. Because the ancient social brain is not easily fooled. It knows when the connection is shallow. It knows when no one is really there. You can fool the eye. You cannot fool the system that spent 2 million years learning to detect the difference between genuine bonds and surface performance. The format your brain was built for is specific. A small number of people, physical proximity, eye contact, something shared, a meal, a real conversation, a moment of mutual understanding where the other person grasps exactly what you meant without you having to explain it. Something that tells your nervous system, these individuals know you exist, they know your name, and they would notice if you did not show up. That is the template. That is what quiets the alarm. And now consider how rarely, in a modern life, that template is actually fulfilled. You can spend an entire day surrounded by people, in offices, on trains, in restaurants, in comment sections, and never once reach that format. The whole day looks like social life. Every hour has human contact, but the social nervous system registers it as silence. Cacioppo called this the difference between the objective social world and the perceived social world. You can be objectively surrounded and subjectively alone, and your body responds to the subjective. Think about the last time you genuinely did not feel lonely. Not distracted, not busy, actually connected. There was probably a small number of people involved, maybe one. There was something real exchanged. The other person understood you. You did not have to perform. Something quiet happened, almost impossible to describe, where the ancient alarm simply went still. That stillness is what 2 million years of evolution was working toward. Not crowds, not noise, not the appearance of connection. Just that. You are surrounded by people. And you know now that this has almost nothing to do with whether you feel alone. The hollow feeling in your chest is not a character flaw. It is not ingratitude. It is not weakness. It is one of the oldest, most precise signals the human body knows how to send, telling you that something it has needed for 2 million years is currently missing. Not more people, not more contact, not more noise. Just someone who would notice if you did not show up. The next time you feel it, in a crowd, at a party, in a feed full of faces, you do not need to fix everything. You just need to recognize what the signal actually is. It is not telling you that you are invisible. It is telling you that real connection is still worth finding. And somewhere in the oldest part of your brain, the part that still remembers the small group and the shared fire, you already know exactly what that looks like.